Hello students, welcome back to the online English class. In today's video we will learn 2.4 Fall of Troy part 1. In this part 1 we will understand the background of the Troy city and the cause of war. Then in the part 2 we will learn how the war continued and what is the conclusion of this war. First of all, we shall start our session with the map of Troy city. Here in this map you can see some countries are there. This is Turkey. You can see this is Turkey. Turkey country is there. Thereafter Istanbul. Thereafter Sparta. Here Syria. This is Aegean Sea. This sea is called as Aegean Sea. This is Black Sea. Thereafter Bulgaria. And this is Greece. So our this Trojan War is between this Greece and Troy. Trojan means of Troy country. So here between Greece and Troy a war took place. War lasted for 10 long years. Till 10 years Greek army had placed a siege. Siege means a surrounding by army. That surrounding lasted for 10 years. This is why this war was special. And after 10 years, with one trick, these Greek people entered into the Troy city and then they destroyed Troy city. And how this all occurred, that we will see in our lesson. In front of this Troy city, this Aegean Sea is there, and to this side mountains are there. The city is surrounded by mountains backside, and to the front side surrounded by the ocean, as well as a very good wall was built around this Troy city. Now let us come on the lesson. Fall of Troy part 1. Epics are long poems that relate the deeds of a great national hero or a great national war. Now this Trojan war we come to know with the help of epics written by Greek and Trojan poets. Here a very famous poet Homer from Greece had written two epics. These are Iliad and Odyssey. So here we will see they often tell of a nation's early history. Epics are long poems and they tell the history of the nation. They may be composed and sung or recited for many years before they are actually written down. Before actually writing such poems, such epics, they were recited for many years. Recited means sung loudly in public. So such poems were sung by poets from one poet to another, then one poet to another. These poems are transferred, transmitted, then these poems are written down and they took the form of epic, the big book. Two famous Sanskrit epics are the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and the two great epics of European literature written in ancient Greek are the Iliad and the Odyssey. As you know, Ramayana and Mahabharata, famous epics of India, they tell the history of India. These epics we can sing as a form of a song. They have rhythms also because they are long poems. Poems are rhythmic texts. In the same way, Iliad and Odyssey, these are ancient Greek epics. Just as in India literature, we go back to stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. So in the literature of Western countries, they go back to the Iliad and the Odyssey. Just as children all over India know the names of stories of Ram and Sita, Yudhishthira and Arjuna, and Draupadi. So children in Western countries know the names of Hector and Odysseus and Achilles and Helen of Troy. So these are the heroes or characters of these epics, you can say Hector, Odysseus, Achilles, and Helen of Troy. The most beautiful woman in the world. Helen was called as the most beautiful woman in the world, and due to Helen, because of whom the Greek and Trojans fought for 10 long years. Due to Helen only, this war took place. Nobody knows for certain who the author of these early epics is. It is thought that they arose and developed with the nation itself and were handed down from singer to singer till perhaps one great poet gave them their final form. The same thing is there which I said. Nobody knows who composed these poems. These poems were being sung from one poet to another poet, one poet to another poet, one singer to another singer. This is how they transferred from one singer to another singer from generation to generation. Thereafter, one great poet wrote down them. It is believed that the Iliad and the Odyssey were composed and recited by a blind poet named Homer. It is believed, it is not sure, that Homer, this Homer named poet, who was a blind poet, you can imagine how great he was, because even if he was blind, he wrote epics, means thousands of lines of a poem, who lived about 900 BCE and who wandered from one Greek city or village to another. See, 900 BCE means 900 years before the birth of Christ. And this Trojan War and Trojan fall of Troy. This story is of the 12th and 13th century before the birth of Christ. That time Vedic period was there in India, and who wandered from one Greek city or village to another. This Homer roamed, wandered from one city to another, one village to another, singing his poem to all who would receive him in their homes and give him hospitality. Hospitality means to receive someone as a guest and to serve him. So people used to receive him as a guest and used to serve him, used to help him, and he used to sing these poems for them. Thereafter, those people came to know these stories, they learnt these poems from him. This wandering singer has been honored through the ages, not only in Greece but in all Europe, as the father of European poetry. This Homer, blind poet, is called as father of European poetry. The Iliad is the story of Ilium or Troy. This Troy city is also called as Ilium, a rich trading city in Asia Minor, near the narrow sea that leads from the Aegean to the Black Sea. In the image, again we will come in the image of this city. Here, that narrow sea that continued from Aegean Sea to the Black Sea. This way the sea is going from Aegean Sea to the Black Sea. About this region they are talking, and here is the Troy city, star marked. Let us come on the lesson. It was well situated both for commerce and agriculture. Commerce means business, exchange of money. That time, money was not there in currency, and they used to exchange goods or animals or things. It was well situated both for commerce and agriculture. In front of city was the sea over which sailed the ships of Troy. Means this city, its ships were sailing in the narrow sea in front of the city, carrying goods and grain. At the back rose the high peak of Mount Ida. High peak means the the ultimate end of a mountain. Mount Ida was there to the backside, means very high mountain was there from which flowed many rivers and streams. This Ida is the name of a mountain. So from this mountain flowed many rivers and streams, means sweet water source was there. From these rivers and streams they used to drink sweet water. Ocean has marine water, means salty water, and it is not drinkable. The valleys among the hills were well watered. Well watered means good source of water, and fertile. Fertile means nutritious for crops and plants, with corn growing in fertile fields and cattle feeding on the rich grass. Of the meadows, meadows means a field of grass, a ground of grass, especially on meadows, cattle, animals are left for eating the grass. While sheep fed on the slopes of the hills. On the slopes of the hills means if a hill is there, suppose this is a hill, so on this portion, these are the slopes, these are the slopes. So and here the sheep were feeding, here the grass was there for sheep. Round their city the Trojans had built a strong wall so that no enemy should attack them from the sea. So a wall, a surrounding wall, very strong wall was there around the city in order to protect it. The wall was so broad that people could stand and sit and walk on it. Those people were able to sit, those people were able to walk on it, means they were able to carry the cannons also on those walls. The great gates stood open and people could go to the seashore outside and come in as they pleased. To the seaside, means agency, front side of the city, a great gate was there, and through that great gate these people used to, Trojan people used to go out, and they used to enjoy the seashore, and thereafter they used to come back. And these gates used to remain open at the time of enjoyment only, whenever the people thought that this is safe. But at the time of attack these gates were were kept closed. But in time of war the gates would be closed, and then the city was like a strong fortress. Fortress means a big fort, a city surrounded by walls, quite safe from all attack, protected by the walls surrounding it as well as by the hills behind. Thus, Troy was a strong city, strongly protected by its walls and strongly defended by its brave soldiers. But all the kings and heroes of Greece had declared war against the Trojans because Paris, a prince of Troy, had persuaded Helen. Persuaded means what? Persuaded means to convince someone, to convince someone, or to make someone do something. Here, wife of a Greek king Menelaus. Helen was wife of a Greek king Menelaus. To elope with him, to elope means to run away. To elope means to run away. He had brought her to Troy. Who brought this? Paris brought Helen to the Troy city. The Greeks wanted to take revenge on Troy for the wrong done to Menelaus. So what was wrong? Here Paris persuaded means convinced Helen. He impressed Helen. Then he he made her run away with him to Troy city. He brought her in Troy city. And this was wrong with Menelaus. They sailed to Troy and said and laid siege to the city. Laid siege means what? Laid a surrounding by the army. Like this, they surrounded the city by the army. The Trojans too fought hard and the siege continued for 10 long years. Means the surrounding by the Greek army continued for 10 long years and they could not intervene in the Troy city. Now let us put a glance on the characters here. Characters of Troy city, Troy as well as Greek city. Heroes of Troy, the main characters: Helen, Spartan queen, wife of Menelaus, elopes with Paris and the cause of war. Helen was the cause of war. Thereafter, Menelaus, king of Sparta, husband of Helen. Here, another character of Trojan, king of Troy, father of Hector, Paris, and Cassandra. Cassandra is the sister of Paris. Here, these three children are there to Priam. Priam is the king of Troy. Paris is the prince. Paris is the son of Priam and elopes with Helen and the cause of war. This Paris and this Helen, these two are the causes of Trojan War. These two. Thereafter, Agamemnon. This Agamemnon, brother of Priam, and leader of the Greek army. Achilles, hero of the Greeks, half god, half man. This Achilles was very strong. His body was so strong that no one can hurt him anywhere. Only on his heel. On his heel means the lower part of the foot, he was weak. And Paris, Paris poisonous arrow kills him. That we will see in the story. Odysseus is the hero of Greeks, invents the wooden horse. That Trojan horse I will show you, that was invented by this Odysseus. Thereafter, this this Agamemnon is the brother of Priam, but Agamemnon is Greek and Priam is Trojan. Thereafter, Hector, son of Priam, leading Trojan hero. This also a Trojan hero. Additional characters are also there here. Pandarus and Cassandra here. Patroclus here. Patroclus and Ajax. So let us come on the remaining part of the passage. The fighting went on daily, but the siege did not end. On the one hand, the Greeks could not take the city, means the Greeks could not win the city, and on the other hand, the Trojans could not force them to sail away. Trojans were not able to make the Greek people run away back to the Greece. Every day the Trojans came out of their gates and the Greeks came out of their tents and ships, and the fighting went on. Both the parties, from both the parties, people, heroes came, they fought, and the fighting continued. No one out of them, no one out of them got defeated. Sometimes there were great battles between the two armies. Sometimes great battles also fought between them with a great army. Sometimes there were single fights between two great heroes. Sometimes the Trojans had the better of it. Had the better. Sometimes Trojans had the better means plus points. And sometimes the Greeks got plus points. But no one defeated completely. But still the fighting went on. Great heroes on both sides were killed in the course of the war. After leading the defense of his city for 9 years, the brave Hector was at last killed by Achilles. Hector was killed by Achilles. Achilles is Greek and Hector is Trojan, whom none could resist. Means to Achilles, none could resist. No one was there to defeat this Achilles because Achilles had no place on his body which can be hurt. only he was able to be hurted by on his heel, but Achilles himself was killed later on by a poisoned arrow that entered his heel. So, and that arrow is said to be hit by Paris, the only part of his body where he could be wounded. Still later, Paris himself was killed, and Paris also killed also by a poisoned arrow, by a poison arrow itself. The Trojans were tired of being shut up their city, and the Greeks were longing to see their. They were thinking to, no, Trojans were thinking to come out of this fort, this wall, and they should enjoy the beach, the fishing, the ocean. And the Greeks were longing to see their homes again. Greeks were thinking that we should go back to our homes, we should see our children, our wives, our city. But still the fighting went on. Here our lesson finishes. I hope that you would have understood the lesson more properly. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Today's homework for this video is read the passage and name the following. Here you have to write the names of these characters. Who are these? He composed the Iliad and Odyssey. Who was it? The blind poet Homer. Homer you have to write here. Like this activity you have to do in the notebook. Second one, find antonyms of the following from passage. Antonyms means opposite words. Here these words you have to write into the notebook, and opposites also you have to write into the notebook. This will be your today's homework. Do the homework and send me images. If you have any doubt, you can ask anytime. Take care. Thank you so much.